Hello students, in today's class we are going to discuss general anesthetics. So general anesthetics are the drugs which produce reversible loss of all sensation and consciousness. Basically anesthetics are of two types. The first one is local anesthetic and second is general anesthetic. Local anesthetics are the agents which produce loss of sensation in a specific part of the body where they are administered, or which are used for the minor surgeries. So they do not cause loss of consciousness, they simply cause loss of sensation at a particular place. While the second kind of anesthetic is general anesthetic, which we are discussing in today's class. So general anesthetics are the agents which produce reversible loss of all sensation and consciousness. Let me tell you, the important part is here, this reversible loss. It should be reversible, otherwise it will act as a poison, because once we have performed the surgical procedure on the patient, we have to take the patient back to the consciousness, to the normal vital functions. So general anesthetic cause loss of sensation and loss of consciousness reversibly. Some key features of general anesthesia are loss of all sensation, especially pain. The second is loss of consciousness and amnesia. The patient should not have any memory of that unconscious period. The immobility, the patient should be immobile and muscles should be relaxed. The patient should not show any kind of body movement of or muscle movement in the phase of anesthesia. And next is abolishment of reflux for that particular period of time. So these are some key features of general anesthesia. When we have to perform major surgeries or major operation on a subject, the patient have to undergo through the general anesthesia. And this state of anesthesia or stage of anesthesia, we can say, the surgical anesthesia is achieved by different stages, or we can say this anesthesia has different stages. The first stage of anesthesia is the stage of analgesia. It begins just after the administration of general anesthetic to the subject. Usually the general anesthetics are introduced into the subject either by inhalation or by IV route. So just after the administration of general anesthetic into the patient, the stage of analgesia start, and it basically lasts up to the loss of consciousness. Okay, in the stage of analgesia, the pain is progressively abolished, or the pain is progressively subside. The patient still remain conscious. The patient can hear, the patient can see or feel the things, but he does not feel, he does not feel pain. So the stage of analgesia is a state uh, like a dream. The reflexes and respiration remains normal in the stage of analgesia. We can perform incision or we can perform incision or minor operation in this state, or labor activities for the childbirth can be performed in this stage of anesthesia. After the stage of analgesia, the stage of delirium comes. It begins with loss of consciousness and it extends to the beginning of regular respiration. This stage, we try to keep this stage minimum during the anesthesia procedure, because in this stage the patient feels excitement, he may shout, he struggles, he can hold breathe, the muscle tone increase, the patient can show involuntary movement, the breathing of patient becomes jerky, and heart rate and bp can rise, pupil dilates. So this is very unstable kind of stage, and no operative procedures are performed during this stage. After the stage of delirium comes the surgical anesthesia. This is the stage in which we perform our major surgeries or surgical procedures, or we can say this is the stage we want to achieve in general anesthesia. This stage begins from onset of regular respiration and cessation of spontaneous breathing. This stage can further divided into 4 planes. The plane first is, in plane first we observe the roving eyeballs. This plane ends when the eyeball become fixed. The plane second is loss of corneal and laryngeal reflexes. In plane third, the pupil start dilate and light reflexes are gone. In plane 4, there is intercostal paralysis and the shallow abdominal respiration starts, the pupil get dilated. As the surgical anesthesia moves to the deeper planes, the muscle tone decreases, the BP falls, and heart rate increases with weak pulse, and respiration decreases in depth as well as in frequency. So surgeries are basically performed in this stage of surgical anesthesia. We want to achieve this surgical anesthesia stage in our general anesthetic procedure. After the surgical anesthesia, the stage comes is medullary paralysis. In medullary paralysis stage, it starts from cessation of breathing, which can last up to the failure of circulation and can lead to the death. It means this stage involves the respiratory depression and cardiac depression, which can lead to the cardiac arrest or respiratory failure. The pupil gets wildly dilated. So this stage is strictly avoidable. If this stage comes, it indicates the overdosing or simply that the toxic level of anesthesia is achieved in the body. So our prime concern is not to get into the medullary paralysis. This stage we always want to get avoided. We simply perform the general anesthesia up to the surgical anesthesia stage, because that was the stage where we perform the surgical procedure. If the medullary paralysis, if the patient comes to the medullary paralysis, it can be life threatening. So we should avoid, actually we have to avoid this stage of general anesthesia. In an ideal general anesthetic procedure, the first 2 stages, the stage of analgesia and stage of delirium, are called induction state, and we just try to keep them to the minimum, especially the stage of delirium. So we can shorten the stage of delirium by using appropriate concentration of general anesthesia, general anesthetic compound and by using appropriate pre-anesthetic medications. Okay, so these are the stages of general anesthesia, in which we got 4 stages. The first stage is stage of analgesia, the second is stage of delirium, the third is surgical anesthesia, and fourth is medullary paralysis, which can lead to the death of the patient, and it is highly avoidable. Now we will discuss about the mechanism of action of general anesthesia, and different theories has been proposed for uh, mechanism of action of general anesthesia. The first theory is called Mayer-Overton theory, and this theory simply states that the anesthetic activity of a compound is mainly dependent on its lipophilicity or its partition coefficient. It simply says that if a compound is highly lipophilic or the value of partition coefficient is high, it will show better anesthetic property. The approach behind this theory is simple. As we know, if the compound is lipophilic in nature, it will easily cross the blood-brain barrier and it will reach to the CNS, and it will cause the depression in CNS, which will lead to the anesthesia. This Mayer-Overton theory basically depends on minimum alveolar concentration, in short, which is called MAC. So what is MAC? It is the lowest concentration of the anesthetic in pulmonary alveoli needed to produce immobility in response to a painful stimulus in 50% of individual. This is called MAC. If the MAC value is low, the compound shows high anesthetic potency. In general, the general anesthetics work through depression of CNS, and as we know, every drug works through a particular receptor or ion channel or different channels. So different theories are proposed for action of general anesthetic, and general anesthetic also shows their effect simply by inhibiting the excitatory neurotransmitter or by increasing the inhibitory effect of inhibitory neurotransmitter. So first we will discuss the general anesthetic acting on chloride channels or through chloride channels. Many inhalational general anesthetics, in which we have isoflurane, enflurane, halothane, or induction anesthetic like barbiturates and benzodiazepine, are basically work through a GABA receptor complex and glycine receptor. What they simply do, they simply augmented the effect of GABA on GABA receptor complex, which leads to the opening of chloride channel and influx of chloride ions, which leads to hyperpolarization, and this hyperpolarization leads to the depression of CNS. Both benzodiazepines and barbiturates work through this mechanism. They do not bind on the binding site of GABA, actually they do bind on the allosteric site on GABA receptor complex. On GABA receptor complex, the benzodiazepine bind to the benzodiazepine binding site, and barbiturates bind to the barbiturates binding site, and they simply augmented the effect of GABA neurotransmitter on this receptor, which leads to the opening of the receptor and influx of chloride ion, which leads to the hyperpolarization and depression of CNS. Benzodiazepines, barbiturates, and some other inhalational anesthetics like propofol also shows its action via glycine receptor, especially in the spinal cord and medulla oblongata. So what it does, it simply activates the glycine receptor, which simply leads to the opening of chloride channel, and this opening of chloride channel cause influx of chloride ions, which cause hyperpolarization and which leads to the depression of CNS. Some compounds, some general anesthetic compound, especially the volatile anesthetics, also inhibit the presynaptic destruction, destruction of GABA, and increase the availability of GABA on the synapse, and so the GABA can work for a longer time, and it simply shows its action by opening of chloride channel. So some general anesthetic also inhibit the destruction of GABA at the synapse, like isoflurane and halothane. So most of the general anesthetics in our syllabus works through this chloride channel, in which we have the GABA receptor complex and glycine receptor complex. Okay. The second channel on which the general anesthetic works is sodium channel. Nitrous oxide and ketamine hydrochloride, which is a dissociative general anesthetic, simply inhibit the excitatory NMDA type of glutamate receptor, which is this glutamate receptor is a excitatory receptor in nature. When the glutamate binds on this receptor, it simply activates the receptor and cause the opening of sodium channel, and as we know, when the sodium channel get opens, it causes depolarization, which leads to the generation of nerve impulse and simply the excitation. So the ketamine hydrochloride and nitrous oxide simply inhibit the excitatory NMDA type of glutamate receptor, and by inhibiting this receptor, what they cause the closing of sodium channel or inactivation of sodium channel, so that the sodium cannot depolarize the neuron and the impulse can't be generated, which leads to the ultimately the depression of CNS. Some general anesthetic also work through potassium channels. What they simply do, as we know, the increasing the potassium conductance maintain the polarized state of neurons, and to assist in the repolarization of neurons following their stimulation induced depolarization. So if we simply enhance the activity of potassium channel, it will cause a decreased neuronal excitation. It will cause the decrement in neuronal excitation if we simply increase the potassium conductance or simply enhance the activity of potassium channel. So some general anesthetic also work in this manner on the potassium channel, but mainly most of the general anesthetic work through the chloride channel, in which we have the GABA receptor complex and glycine receptor. Most of the inhalational anesthetic and barbiturates and benzodiazepines work through the GABA receptor and glycine receptor. Some inhalational general anesthetic also inhibit the destruction of GABA in the synapse, which increase the life of GABA at the synapse, and GABA can show its action for a longer time, which is ultimately cause the opening of chloride channel, which cause hyperpolarization of cell and CNS depression. And the second is via sodium channel, and through the sodium channel the ketamine hydrochloride works. What it simply does, it simply inhibit the opening of sodium channel, and because of that the depolarization cannot occur, and ultimately the nerve impulse cannot be generated, which will cause the depression of the CNS. So these are the mechanisms of action for general anesthetics. Now we will discuss the classification of general anesthetic. Here we have classified the general anesthetics according to their mode of administration. In this we have the inhalational anesthetic. In inhalational anesthetic, in general, we have the halogenated hydrocarbon or the ethers. Chemically, we have ethers and halogenated hydrocarbons in this category, which we call inhalational anesthetic because they are administered to the patient via inhalation. The inhalational anesthetics are mainly used for maintaining the phase of general anesthesia. The general anesthesia is maintained by the use of inhalational anesthetics nowadays. The general anesthesia is introduced by induction anesthetics, in which we have the barbiturates and benzodiazepines and ketamine hydrochloride. These are the induction general anesthetics, which because of their shorter onset of action, they are administered into the body via IV route, and in a very short period of time they introduce the general anesthesia. And because they have shorter onset of action and shorter life, so once the general anesthesia is achieved, it is later on maintained by the use of inhalational anesthetics, in which we have the halogenated hydrocarbons and ethers. So in inhalational anesthetics we have halothane, isoflurane, desflurane, sevoflurane, methoxyflurane and fluorine. And we can see here the halothane is a halogenated hydrocarbon, and rest of the compounds belong to the category of ethers, halogenated ethers. The second category in the classification, we have ultra short acting barbiturates. So these are basically the induction anesthetics. They have very really short onset of action and shorter duration of action also. So they are simply used to just induce the general anesthesia into the subject, and they are used intravenously. So intravenously they are administered into the body of subject or the patient, and once the patient get unconscious, the surgical anesthesia is achieved in a very short period of time. Then we introduce the inhalational anesthetics. So in the strategy of achieving general anesthesia, we have to use two kind of anesthetics nowadays. The first, we use the induction anesthetics, in which we have the ultra short acting barbiturates and ketamine hydrochloride, the dissociative general anesthetic. And once the surgical anesthesia is achieved, that stage is maintained throughout the procedure via use of inhalational anesthetic, in which we have the halogenated hydrocarbons and halogenated ethers. So now we will discuss the ultra short acting barbiturates. All the compounds here belong to the barbiturate category. So barbiturate category basically are the derivatives of 246 sorry, it is, this category is pyrimidine 246 trione derivatives called barbiturates. In this category we have the thiopentyl sodium, methoxyethyl sodium and thiomylyl sodium. So these are the induction anesthetics which are used for the induction of stage of general anesthesia because of their shorter onset of action. The next category we have here is dissociative anesthetic, in which we have the ketamine hydrochloride, and it is called dissociative anesthetics because the effect of this ketamine hydrochloride is that when the patient get unconscious, he simply feel dissociated from his own body. He feels get separated from his own body. It gives a trance like state to the subject. Because of that it is called dissociative anesthetic. So this is the classification of general anesthetic, and this is all for today's class. Thank you.